Welcome to another video blog by me, Tom Marshall, at Mexico World Cup on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram as well. Talking today a little bit about Mexico's game on Wednesday against Nigeria in Atlanta. I think that one overriding factor to do with this game is how the European players, how Mexico's Europe-based players can adapt to Herrera's system. Obviously, it's the only FIFA date before the World Cup camp starts, so it's going to be vital that Mexico's European Legion really adapt to Herrera's 5-3-2 system and pressing game. I think first up, Andres Guardado, I think it's absolutely vital that the Bayer Leverkusen player has a good game. I mean, he's going to start on at left wing back. He's been in poor form. He's not started yet in the Bundesliga for his new club after his January move to Valencia. So it's really important that he can show that he can put his bad form behind him and play well in that position as well. I think he's 27 years old. He's one of Mexico's only players who is in his prime. Also, has experience in Europe and experience in the World Cup. Mexico have got only very few of those players, and he's a good player to have around, good personality, and he's versatile. He can also play in that attacking midfield role. So I don't think his World Cup chances have written off, but especially with the way he's going on in Germany at the minute, he really needs a good game on Wednesday against Nigeria. Moving on, Guillermo Ochoa. He's had a rough ride with the national team over the last few years. I mean, we've seen first of all with the clenbuterol scandal in inverted commas there, like in 2011 at the Gold Cup. There's a lot of people, him included, who said that kind of put a few big European clubs off coming in for him. Obviously, he's gone to Ajaccio. Last August, Chepo, when he was the Mexico manager, said that Ochoa didn't want to come over to join the squad if he wasn't guaranteed a starting place. Now, it's important to mention that Ochoa's actually rejected that. He said that didn't happen, but still there's a little bit of friction between Ochoa and the national team setup, and this is a massive game for Ochoa. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's only 90 minutes, and I think the keys on the field are going to be his communication with what are likely to be Mexico's three starting centre backs at the World Cup: Hector Moreno, Rafa Marquez, the captain, and Diego Reyes. So how his relationship with those players on the field is going to be key. Distribution is also obviously very important for Miguel Herrera's system, and I think the other thing is off the field. I think it's going to be vital for Ochoa. I mean, this potentially, if he isn't the number one, could be his third consecutive World Cup on the bench. I mean, no player likes that, and is he showing the right signs within the camp that he is satisfied just to go to Brazil if he's number 2 or number 3? And I think Herrera will be very keen to judge that and weigh it up. Chicharito-Peralta. I mean, it's many people on social networks and pundits in the Mexican press have suggested that these two players can't play together. They're too similar, and I think there is a degree of truth to that. But at the same time, I think they might be surprised. They're both starting against Nigeria, and I think there might be a surprise there. I think they can still do it. I mean, you can see what Chepo de la Torre and now Miguel Herrera is looking for. I mean, you get that amount of firepower in your team, and if it could work between them, and you can just imagine how good it would be for Mexico. I think that the main key here is that whereas Chepo played with two kind of more defensive midfielders and wingers that weren't necessarily in form, we had Guardado, Barrera, Gerardo Flores, who else was Giovanni Dos Santos on the right, who didn't actually, we know now that he wasn't happy there at all. So I don't think they had the service, to be fair to Peralta and Chicharito, over the qualifying. Now in Herrera's system, we've got wing backs who, when Mexico got the ball, are going to be very high up the pitch. We've got a different midfield setup, so we've got one holding midfielder, likely to be Medina, and then we're going to have two in front. Against Nigeria, it's going to be Montes and Hector Herrera from Porto. Two players, and in general, you can throw names like Isaac Brizuela, Carlos Peña. They're all going to be fighting for the attacking midfield positions. But the point is, there's a lot more creativity, with those players compared to Jesus Zavala, Carlos Salcido, Gerardo Torrado, which is what Chepo kind of preferred in his midfield. So, I think it's too early to write off the Chicharito-Peralta, and, who knows if it's going to work against Nigeria, but, there's plenty of reason to think that it could still function. Aquino, I think it's a blow that he's not starting. I think he'll be disappointed. I know he's coming off a bit of a, he's had an injury recently with Villarreal, but I think it is a blow that Montes is starting ahead of him, and I think he's still got work to do. But I think he's been one of a big success story over in Europe. I mean, quietly, without the press attention of Giovanni or Carlos Vela, he's quietly gone about his job, and he's nailed down a starting spot in a team fighting for the Champions League. So, I think he deserves a lot of praise for that. Defence, mentioned it before. I think that Moreno, Rafa Marquez, and Diego Reyes three-man central defensive backline is, I think at the minute, is the most likely to be starting in June in Brazil. I think it's exciting that they've got three players there who are brilliant on the ball. I think it's going to make Mexico an exciting team to watch, a team that can build from the back. On the downside, I think that maybe lacks a defender in there who's just willing to put his body on the line, throw himself at balls, and just a real hard man at the back. Obviously Massa Rodriguez is that player, but he's not in the best of form at the minute. But yeah, it's definitely something to watch out for between those three. I think it's the first time they're ever going to play together at the same time, so definitely something to watch the chemistry between those three. Finally, last point, Giovanni Dos Santos, obviously injured with a calf injury, couldn't make the trip. Is a blow to him. Again, it's a bit similar with Ochoa. There has been not the best relationship between the Mexican Federation and Giovanni Dos Santos recently. Herrera's said before in interviews that he doesn't actually have a position for Giovanni in his 5-3-2 formation. He said he doesn't have room for that player in the hole. Now that was back in December when he said that, so he's kind of calmed his tones now, and he's talked to Giovanni, and Giovanni and the manager, they both know now that Giovanni wants to play in that number 9 position as one of the two strikers. So moving forward, that's where he's going to play. I mean, it is a blow that he's not going to be. Herrera's not going to see him firsthand before the World Cup squad is announced. Giovanni has to be there. I mean, I think especially with Carlos Vela out, Mexico don't have too many players who have the ability to, create that little bit of magic out of nothing and, burst past somebody, like really the skillful dribbler. So you have to think Giovanni's going to be in there. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that Herrera will start him, even though on paper it looks like he looks a certain starter. Herrera there's something a bit of friction there. I'm not sure, but when you read the comments and read the press, that's what you pick up. I mean, those are my main points for the Nigeria game, Mexico against Nigeria in Atlanta, Georgia Dome. Thanks very much for watching, for listening, and hopefully do another one of these soon. And feel free to leave comments, criticism, whatever below. Thanks very much.